to the Entrepreneurs Forum podcast. Today, we have a very dear friend of mine and colleague who I have known for over an entire year, which might not seem like a lot, but when you follow somebody on social media, it feels like a lot. The incredible Maurice F Martin is here, and he is a transformational coach. He is also a motivational speaker and an author, and he is extraordinarily passionate about empowering leaders to overcome things like burnout, things also like finding their purpose and finding and achieving the success and the leadership that they want in their life. So without further ado, please get to know my dear friend and colleague, Maurice Martin. Hi, Maurice.
Hi, I am so excited to join you today. I think we're going to have an excellent conversation that a lot of people are going to benefit from.
I completely agree. And I know we're going to have everything in the show notes. So, a little bit about your background. How did you get to be a motivational speaker and a transformational speaker? Because, as you and I both know, the road to that point is never covered in roses, to say the
It sure
least.
isn't. Goodness gracious, the real motivational speakers, the real transformational speakers had to have had a loss of motivation and needed to find their motivation, and they're telling you how they found it, or they were in deep need of a transformation. They transformed and then they share the journey. And so that is the same for me for sure. I often tell people I grew up in the type of way where I had a bunch of gifts and a bunch of talents, and those things always flourished. They came about, it was obvious. What people didn't know was behind the scenes, I had childhood anxiety, childhood depression. I grew up in a house with domestic violence and abuse and so many other things. And so in my 20s, I played music. I was just blessed to be able to work with some Grammy winners and Emmy winners and was signed to a couple independent record labels. And while I was accomplishing all those things and all those accolades, I was struggling. I was deeply depressed. I was anxious. And by the time I was in my early 30s, like the truth is, I didn't want to live. I mean, I was literally suicidal on the brink of just ending my life. And so at some point, life became I have to survive. I have to get to a place where I thrive. And as I started picking up the pieces of my life, I realized that who I was becoming was the person who was meant to stand in front of other people and tell them how to do it. And that's really been the journey for me.
I love that. It's so interesting because there are times where people will say, like, let the past go, don't look at it. And then there are other times where people look at the past and they really find ways to alchemize it and
Yes,
harness it and use it
that's it.
to their advantage. Yeah. Yeah. I know you mentioned
Hmm.
and you share openly about dealing with depression and addiction. And I think the media and the culture would very much have us say, oh, everything's fine. All they did was put in some really hard work and a lot of long hours, and it's this beautiful upward trajectory of success. And
Yeah.
that's really not, at least in my very personal experience, that's not what it's like at all. And you mentioned
Mm.
something that when we were just off camera. So when people are finding their way through their stuff, which can sometimes feel like muck, what were some
Mhm.
things that were really helpful to you? Did you find that you went to books? Did you find conversations? Like, how did you start finding and collecting things to really help yourself?
That's such a good question. For me, the noise has always been so overwhelming. When I say the noise, I mean the mental chatter, the mental clutter. It has always gotten to a point where I felt like I'm swimming and I'm drowning in my own thoughts. Um, so to embrace things like meditation and prayer, that was actually the beginning and kind of the first catalyst for me. Right now, I have headphones on.
Mhm.
I'm actually wearing the headphones because I have meditation music in my ears. Okay, I play like instrumental prayer music all the time. It reminds me that everything is okay and that I don't have to be in a rush. And so for
Yeah.
me, I would say, being connected to the breath was the start. Being connected to prayer was the start. And then yeah, I mean I just had I have kept myself open to however I need to grow in whatever season I'm in. I've had mentors, I've gone to therapy, I've read books, I've watched videos. I continue to grow. I think that one of the biggest fallacies that exists is You decide you want to change, spin around in a circle, spin, you click your heels a couple times, say there's nothing like change, and bow, there it is, right? Well, no, you change, and then you realize the change isn't enough because you've now evolved to a new person with new problems. And now
Yeah.
you need to learn more and you need to heal more. And so I just am always learning new ways to heal and grow. And I think that's important.
I love that you said that you've evolved to a new person with new problems.
Hmm.
That is such a beautiful way to say that. And it's so interesting because I always think, and I'm not sure where I heard it, and I can confidently tell you, I did not come up with this, but we will always have problems. What kind of
Yes.
problems do you want? And if you want to
Mm,
call them high quality problems or newly evolved person problems, that
hmm.
I think is a really great thing. And there was something when I was younger, and I'm convinced that Disney did this because they made it seem like you will get to your happily ever after and there you will be. And
Yes.
when I started to realize, oh, that doesn't stop.
Yeah.
There's no like happily ever after unless you're in my very personal opinion, on the other side of this non-physical experience. But this
Yes.
happily ever after really to me feels like that evolution of yourself, going deeper internally, figuring things out, finding pieces of you, resolving, or whether you want to call it healing or piecing it back together, feeling whole, whatever label people are comfortable with. But it is so
Hmm.
much an inside work that ultimately helps you go higher. So when you said evolve into the person with new problems. That was so
Hmm.
beautifully said. I love that. And
Yeah.
I really find it interesting, especially because I know a lot about voices in her head and the things that will not stop here. I love that you mentioned that breath work and meditation really helped you. I, for one, struggle with
Hmm.
that. So I love that it helped you and that you feel more grounded.
Hmm. Absolutely. Well, so I want to almost go back to the point you just made because I had a very similar realization. Do you ever notice that when you see the end of a movie or the end of a story, it is often the beginning of the next chapter? Oh, they
Yes.
fell in love. They got married. Well, if you've been married, you have an understanding that's not the end of a thing. It's the end of something and the beginning of something else, right?
That is so beautifully said.
And I'll tell you what. So I'm a man of faith, okay? I'm a reverend and all that. And so I'm
I
also
love
I see
that.
the same thing in the Bible, okay?
Yeah.
That sometimes people they preach from pulpits and they say things like, and then this person got healed. And you're like, yeah, but they had to live the rest of their life. So
Yes.
they still needed to grow. They still
Yeah.
needed something. Like their journey wasn't over at that point.
Yeah.
And sometimes we almost make somebody else's story into such a fantasy that when we live reality, we feel like we missed it.
That is
And we don't.
really accurate.
Yes, absolutely. And in terms of the breath work and all that, I need somebody to hear this. There's somebody who said to themselves, "Well, I did it for a while and it worked for a while, then it stopped." Me too. Right? And so there was a season of my life when sitting in a quiet room and breathing and calming and then praying, like that was the ticket to peace. I
Hmm.
can't really say that it works as well in this season of my life I'm in now than it did in some other ones. And
Hmm.
so I'm always having to reinvent. Am I inside and I have to go outside and get some fresh air? Do I need to have a conversation with somebody?
Yeah.
I've been out of therapy for a minute. Do I need another therapy appointment?
Hmm.
Like the investigation into finding out what you need
Yeah.
is just as important as finding the answer.
I
Like
love the way you said
going
that.
after the answer.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. The investigation of finding out what you need. And I really think it's so much something, and it raises you continue to raise your awareness on
Hmm.
what you need. And you said that so beautifully, the season of your life, because it's not that the tools that you have gravitated toward, like music and breath work, it's not that you throw them out the window and that they no longer work. It's just that they're not the ones that you need right now.
That's
And
it.
that's what you had said off camera was about the tools. So there are
Yes.
times where as you're evolving in your experience, things still come up, whether you're an entrepreneur or you're a motivational speaker in that sense or you're a coach, there are still experiences that you're going through. And I completely agree with you. It's all about the tools that you've picked up along the way and how you're
Hmm.
applying them. It
That's it.
makes all the difference. Yeah.
Hmm. I teach often that there's almost a feeling that we have or a sense that if we just had more information, everything would change. I just need the magical answer to the problem. And if somebody would just tell me the answer, I'd be
Hmm.
okay. But the reality is, information alone can't change your life. You transform when you have the application of information,
Completely.
right? And
Completely.
so that is so important. I could tell you what to do, I could tell you how to do it. But
Yeah.
if you don't do it and then do it with consistency and then do it with resilience, you'll never get the results you're looking for.
You're completely accurate. I had a teacher once who said, um, when they say information is power, he would say, no, information is potential power.
Hmm.
Taking action on that knowledge that you now have is power. And that's the same exact thing that you had just said.
Agreed.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love to hear that. So I know you're a motivational speaker at schools and at a number of places that you go. What is that like? What do you love to share? What do you love to teach? What
It's
would you want
horrifying.
your
Can I tell you the truth? You want the truth? It's scary. Okay.
I can
So
understand that.
the funny thing is, the first time that I actually spoke at a school, the very first time, was actually probably 15, 20 years ago. And it was when I was still
Wow.
doing music, the very first time. And my band went, and we went to a couple schools and all that. And then I didn't do it for years. And so, speaking is just something that I'm really passionate about. It's something that makes me feel alive and in purpose.
Yeah.
I thought that by now I would only really be doing corporate speaking.
Okay.
I love speaking to companies and speaking to businesses, but I've been finding that my phone has been ringing more and more often to go speak to the youth of America, speak to the next leaders.
Wow.
And I say
Okay.
horrifying because standing in front of a bunch of 13-year-olds, I remember how 13-year-olds can be.
Yeah.
Standing in front of a bunch of 10-year-olds, I remember what it was like to be 10. And
Yeah.
what you learn is that the lessons that the adults need, the lessons that your friends and your family and we're both coaches,
Yeah.
the things that our clients need, their
Yeah.
children need too.
Oh,
It's
for
just that
sure.
we're giving them a stronger foundation.
Hmm.
So a lot of the speaking that I do, I speak to the understanding that if there's anything great that you want to accomplish in life, you have to start with the understanding that it's already on the inside of you, right? That greatness is in there.
It's already activated and it's already calling you
That,
completely.
that's it, right? It's
Yeah, it's not
calling
outside
to
you.
you.
Yeah.
That's it. But now we have to go through cultivating it. And
Yeah.
that's the hard thing, because it is when you go through hard times, it's when you struggle, it's when life doesn't do what you wish life would do, that
Hmm.
you mature into the guy, the girl who can do the thing, right?
Yeah.
That you become the full expression of that when you grow, when you heal, when you evolve, and that takes resilience.
Yeah. I love the way that you said that. It's so funny is so when I was in sixth grade, I was 12 years old and I had just moved from Brooklyn and I moved to a part of New Jersey. And we, for the very first time, had a speaker. And I
Mm.
remember thinking, yes, I get out of class. And this speaker, I don't remember what he spoke about, but he gave us a hot pink index card, just like
Mm.
this. And
Okay.
on this index card, he had a very specific, whether you want to call it prayer or a mantra, whatever it was. And he had said, read this every single day, morning and night, for 21 days and watch your life change. That's
Mm.
the exact phrase that I remember him saying. If he said it exactly that way, I have no idea. And on it was so all the words were on it and then in the background was a a guy lifting weights like he or that he was just really strong and he was in a strong position. And so I ended up
Okay.
memorizing this entire thing to the day that I still know every single word of this and to this day that I
Wow.
say it every single night when I go to sleep. And it's just
Mm.
part of my nightly routine as I'm going through the thoughts of my head. And it truly has changed my life. Like I still think of it.
Wow.
And to give you all a reference, it's 2025 right now. It's May and I just turned 40. So we're talking about from the age of 12 to the age of 40, I have said this. So I hope that helps you notice the massive impact that you really do make. And you may never see those kids again. You may never see those teachers again. But what you say really does last.
It does. The amazing thing is, I always remind myself that you have to be okay with being, here's what I call it, a seed planter. Okay.
Oh, I love that.
Which means like sometimes your only thing, the only satisfaction you get is
Hmm.
you know that you planted a good seed in the soil of someone's life. And somebody else
I
is going to
love
water it, somebody else is going to see it grow. You won't get to see it, but you'll know you planted a seed.
Yeah.
There's those beautiful moments though, whether it's in corporate America, whether it's in schools, whatever. You have moments where you do get the satisfaction. Just last week I was at a school. I spoke at a school that it was all 10th graders and they were
Mhm.
finishing their year. And when I got done, a little girl walks up to me. I'm calling her a little girl, but she's like
Yeah.
15, 16 years old. She's got tears in her eyes and
Oh.
she says, "You have no idea how much I needed to hear that," and just tears streaming down her face.
Oh.
All the other kids are gone. They were like, "All
Yeah.
right, assembly's done. Bye." Right?
Yeah.
And the one girl is standing in front of me
Wow.
and she says, "I know you were sent here just for me."
Full chills right now. Oh my God.
Right? Those are the moments. And by the way, this was one of those assemblies where the kids were talking and they were boisterous and they had all this extra energy. I had to come down off the stage and sit amongst them and get them back in focus.
Yeah.
And this one girl shows you, but this is why you did it. But this is
Yeah.
why you pushed ahead and forged ahead and got that message heard. And when
Yeah.
I asked one of my friends later on that night, because I knew one of the people, one of the staff members, I said,
Yeah.
"Did it hit? Was it helpful? Did it make a difference?" You get that
Yeah.
paranoia. He said, "I had people walking into my room quoting things you said." He said
Wow.
sometimes kids have the superpower of pretending they don't hear you,
Yeah.
but they heard you. And I think that that is the encouragement that I give to anybody who you've been trying to speak life to your friends. You've
Yeah.
been trying to give encouragement to your children or your loved ones. You've been
Yeah.
trying to help somebody. You've
Yeah.
been helping a client, those that are in the careers like us. You've been working with them and you're not seeing the results.
Yeah.
Sometimes people have the superpower of pretending
Yeah.
that they don't receive what you say. But
Yeah.
sometimes it's 5 years from now, 10
Yeah.
years from now that they really take hold of the message and the lesson.
Yeah.
And that's okay.
Oh, I love that. The message and the lesson. Oh my goodness. You're like a golden nugget of language over here.
I do think there's a difference between the message and the lesson.
There
The, the,
is.
the message is simply the delivery, right? And we
Yeah.
all have a message in
Yeah.
different ways. We tell stories and that we
For
share
sure.
things.
Yeah.
So there's the message, but the lesson is always multi-tiered and multi-pronged.
Yeah.
That if you get a lesson when you're 40,
Hmm.
you'll probably get a different part of the lesson when you're 60 if you
Yeah.
go back to the message. The
Yeah.
message will
Absolutely.
actually it'll be the
It'll
same.
evolve with you. Yeah.
The lesson changes. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I absolutely love that. And I know you also do so corporate speaking and at schools, and I also know that you do group coaching.
Mhm.
And do you do one-on-one still, or has it completely all transitioned to group?
Yeah, I mean at this point I have a couple individual clients. I'm doing a lot of
Okay.
group work, but yeah, I do still take on individual clients.
That's
And
awesome.
I always say that the individual clients, I want to work with people who say, "You know what? I want to change my life in some way. I want
Yeah.
to." Here's the main person who, if they're listening to this interview, they know they're a person who'd want to work with me.
Hmm.
It's a person who I say is looking for total harmony. Okay?
Oh,
Here's what that means. I don't know anything about work-life balance. I don't know how to be a more balanced person. I don't even know what that stuff means. But I do know that there are ways in life where you can find harmony within yourself, where
yeah.
there is a peace because of the purpose that you're in. And
Hmm.
even if there's a tension in some areas, there will always be tension.
Yeah.
It is finding the purpose in the midst of the tension. So
Yeah.
when I coach a person, we're talking about who you are as a mother, who you are as an entrepreneur, who you
Hmm.
are as a wife, and how you can grow in all areas. Who you are as a husband, a father, an entrepreneur, a businessman, or whatever. The different
Hmm.
hats that you wear, because the different hats all go on the same head.
Very
So
much so.
if we can work on your head,
Yeah.
if we can evolve your head, then no matter what hat you're wearing, you are fully in purpose.
Yeah.
That's what I
That
call
is,
total harmony.
I love that. And I love how that goes back to your musical background.
That's it. That's
That
it.
is really, really beautiful. Completely, because work-life balance can definitely mean something different to everybody. And
Hmm.
just like harmony can mean something different to
Yes,
everybody,
it
but
can.
there's a different weight to that word. There's a
Hmm.
different depth to that word.
Yes,
Yeah.
because harmony speaks to how do multiple notes relate
Yeah.
to one another. And
Yeah.
so how do the different notes in my life, how do they rub together? How do they work together? How do they move together?
Yeah.
Harmony is a beautiful thing, but harmony again has tension. And that's something
Yeah.
that's important to know.
That is extraordinarily important to know, because I think a lot of people, especially, they're working so hard to get to this place of not or this place without tension, perhaps. That might be a
Hmm.
better way to explain it.
Yes.
And I almost think of it as, the CEO that finally made it and finally took the vacation, and then they're like, they sit on the beach and they're going like, "Oh my God, what I just missed? There's so much and I don't feel that space."
Mm.
They might be out of harmony across their life experiences, and things didn't quite gel the way that they thought. So now they're coming to that point of, I'm here, but I'm not here. I don't feel that.
Mm.
So really pointing out that there is harmony that can be found, and that there is tension, because then that frames it. That tension is also a beautiful thing, and it really does let us continue to grow and evolve.
I'm looking behind you, and you have an airplane back there,
I
right?
do. It's a Thunderbird airplane.
So that
Thunder.
Thunderbird goes up in the air. It is
Yeah.
experiencing what we would call freedom.
Yeah.
But when the plane hits freedom, it
Yeah.
must deal with the tension of the sky.
Yeah.
Now that was way deeper, right? You know what I mean? Like
That is
such a deep
beautiful.
lesson in that.
Yeah.
Like there is the tension of the very air that it is free to interact with.
Yeah.
So freedom, we think of freedom as like you get to a place where you just don't feel anything.
Yeah.
Freedom is where you are able to move and live with a peace and a purpose in the midst of the chaos, in the midst of the resistance, in the midst of the
Yeah.
tension. It's not the void of it and the absence of it.
Yeah.
That's not real life. It's learning how to interact with that stuff and
Yeah.
still fully embrace who it is that you were born to be.
My goodness, that was gorgeous. There are so many beautiful messages on this recording. Thank goodness it's recorded. I am absolutely ecstatic about that. How do you share with people, especially when they're feeling that burnout and they're feeling all this loss, and you're wanting them to really understand that it's okay, that this is
Mm.
a good thing that they're here, and here's what we're going to do, especially because I know burnout is really something that you're quite passionate about helping people reframe and shift out of.
Yeah. I think it's probably not that dissimilar to you and your work that you just use the word. It's a frame. Well, a
Yeah.
frame is a choice or a set of choices. It is
Yeah.
giving yourself permission to re-examine or
Yeah.
reconsider the situation. And so what I say to people is this moment that you're in could be more than one thing.
Yeah.
You could be in the worst moment of your life. You could be in rock bottom. You could be in burnout, failure. Use all the words that you feel.
Mhm.
Or you could be in an exciting moment of reinvigoration, renewal. I often
Mhm.
say that rock bottom is a firm foundation to rebuild your life. It's all about how you're looking at it. Oh my
Wow.
gosh, if I really hit the bottom of something, I can build now.
Wow. That is
So
such a
it's
beautiful thing that you had just shared. Go ahead. I'm going to put a note in it and we're going to come back to it.
no, that was really it. It's all an opportunity. We
Yeah.
get opportunities every day of our life to reconsider the life we're living.
Yeah.
And sometimes that what it's the problem isn't that we're struggling. It's that we're not struggling the right way. That the
Ooh.
real struggle is, hey, I have the ability to overcome what I'm feeling if I choose, and then keep choosing, and then keep choosing to reconsider. That's actually a struggle to keep choosing in the midst of what doesn't feel like a choice.
Yeah.
That's a struggle. So
Yeah.
if you're struggling, struggle in a way that helps you win.
My goodness, that is so beautifully shared. That is just absolutely stunning. When you had mentioned about rock bottom, because I know for sure what was funny is, and not so funny at the time, during the worst parts of what I would consider the lowest parts of my life,
Hmm.
it felt like I was repeatedly hitting multiple rock bottoms. And I was shocked
Yes.
to find that there was more than one and that they really were quite a number that I lost count of.
Mm.
And for those that aren't quite sure about my past history, I had an eating disorder and battled it for well over 2 decades of my life. And one of the things that I often tell people is that not only was it something that ruined my life, it was also something that saved my life because
Mm.
I was contemplating driving into a guardrail. And I
Yeah.
would think the only thing that would stop me from driving into that guardrail is because if my car didn't go up in flames, my husband wouldn't understand what the hell happened to me. So when
Mm.
you're talking about this rock bottom and how this can be a foundation for people,
Mhm.
oh my God, that is a huge, huge, huge reframe. Quite literally a life altering and life changing reframe.
Absolutely. And I guess that maybe that's why we get along so well, because I had
It's
a
true.
very similar moment of my life. And
Yeah.
I wrote about it in my last book, um, that I was on a highway and the thought was, if I go to the left, I've got the median over there, but I'm gonna have to hit it
Mm.
at the right angle and it's gonna be hard. And if I go to
Yeah.
the right, there's the embankment and maybe I can go that way. And in my brain, I was like,
Yeah.
what way do I go to end this thing?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I have always felt like that day in particular, was the day where I lost myself enough to finally find myself. That it
Oh
was the
wow.
beginning of realizing, like, you really have to decide if you want to live,
Yeah.
not just that you don't want to die,
Bye.
right?
Totally different. Yeah.
Those are two
Yeah.
different things. There's I don't want
Very
to
different.
die, but then there's I want to live.
Yeah.
And that was the day, and my life didn't get better immediately, right? And everything didn't change immediately.
Oh,
But
completely.
I was driving to work high that morning.
Mm.
I was drunk every night, high every
Mm.
day, depressed throughout the whole thing. And
Mm.
that moment for me, that day for me, there was a switch
Yeah.
where I decided, you know what? I don't want to die
Yeah.
and I want to live. And
Yeah.
when you decide that you want to live, then you will have to try to figure out, what does living look like in every area where I
Oh
feel
yeah.
like I've hit rock bottom? You said there's
Oh
many
yeah.
rock bottoms in many areas. It's a
Yeah.
scary thing to learn about a deep person.
Yeah.
You're deep for a reason. You
Yeah.
were born like this intensely deep creature who
Yeah.
was created to consume life in a way that other people can't comprehend.
Yeah.
And so, people like us, we were born to teach, we were born to serve and to help
Yeah.
and to pour. And so, we were created as these deep vessels. But there's a
Yeah.
lot of the wrong things that can fill up the right vessel. Think about that for a second.
Oh wow. Yes,
Right?
absolutely. And
I
then
have
sink the vessel.
Yes, and sink the vessel.
Yeah.
That's why for me, I know this is very, I'll call it controversial. A lot of people teach about the empty cup. And
Mm-hmm.
I tell people I don't like to teach about the empty cup
Mm-hmm.
because I haven't really met people with an empty cup. And I've
Mm-hmm.
worked in the recovery world. I've worked with people who had just, you just had 3 overdoses and mom and dad drag
Yeah.
you in out of ER and say, like, I don't want my son or daughter to die. And I'm
Yeah.
looking at their eyes and I don't see an empty vessel. I see
Yeah.
a vessel full of the wrong things,
Things.
full of
Yeah.
despair, full of
Yeah.
hopelessness,
Or
full of
heartbreak or loneliness. Yeah.
heartbreak, loneliness.
Yeah.
That's not an empty cup. That's a
Yeah.
full cup
Yeah.
of things that are not serving you well.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm gonna back you on this one. I'm right there with you. I definitely, you just completely reframed my choice of words also. Oh my gosh, that's really beautiful. I know one of your favorite words. You have two favorite words, at least they are to me. And one of the words you and I have in common, the word shift, is
Yes.
very, very important and powerful for us. What is your perspective on shift and what does it mean to you?
Yes. To me, a shift is a change of direction and a change of momentum. I
Mm,
often think about when a person says you just need to shift your path, you just
yeah.
need to shift your course. Well, that doesn't mean just turn in a different direction. Think about a ship on the water that needs to
Hmm.
shift direction. the entire boat is going to have to move, but now if it was going downstream, now it's going upstream. If it was going
Hmm.
upstream, it needs to go downstream. There's going to be a change of momentum, a
Yeah.
change of force, a change of trajectory
Yeah.
that for many people, they have been doing enough of the right things to get by.
Yeah.
They have been they're qualified as good enough by their friends and their family. They're
Yeah.
climbing the corporate ladder. They're making a decent amount of money. They're taking care
Hmm.
of their family.
Surface checklist.
They're checking all the boxes,
Yep.
but none of those boxes mean a darn thing to them
Hmm.
because it's all hollow victories.
Very much so. Very, very much so. And I often think, this is what you were told and this is what you were taught. And now here you're going to check those boxes. Yeah,
So
very much
so
so.
shifting says
Yeah.
you need to reconsider what boxes you're checking and what the
Mm.
boxes mean to you.
Yeah.
Shifting is when you reconsider your life and the direction it's taking. And you literally go decision by decision of your life. Is this who
Hmm.
I want to be? Is this how I want to be? Is
Yeah.
this where I want to be? Am I really the healthy
Yeah.
person I portray?
Yeah.
It's a change. And
Very much
so
so.
we talked earlier about transformation. I don't really want to just be a motivational speaker or a
Hmm.
motivational coach
Yeah.
because I need to help you for the days when you lack motivation.
Hmm.
When the motivation's not there, will you choose life?
Yeah.
Will you choose love? Will you choose growth even when
Yeah.
you're not motivated?
Will you shift into
That
those
is
changes?
that's a
Yeah.
shift. That's
That
it.
is the shift. That absolutely, I completely agree with that. And it's so funny. The word transformation never really resonated with me, at least up until maybe the last 2 months when
Mm,
I was really able to see, no, that really is a transformation. And sometimes in the ChatGPT world and in the AI world, this word is getting bombarded and just thrown across the table when people really start to see, oh, you really did transform. You are a completely different person.
yes.
That is a true transformation.
Mhm.
And it's one thing to say it. It's something completely different to be able to deliver it on stage
Yes. Yes.
and to be able
Yes.
to take people through that emotional journey and through that thought process
Hmm.
of shifting their perspective, shifting their thoughts. And then also, as you mentioned, the students leave and you hope that those seeds really went in and that they'll be watered. When you're working with clients, when you're working with adults, to me, there is nothing more important than helping people shift and get that literal relief in their nervous system
Mm,
where they can breathe better, they can move better because they
yes.
were full of the wrong things. And now we're able to start weeding that out and clearing things out and fill them with the things that are going to support them, that are going to help them, that are going to uplift them. Because yes, life is not easy and you can absolutely change.
Yes,
You
you
can
can.
absolutely shift.
I like to think about shifting a car. I know a lot of
Hmm.
people nowadays they drive automatic cars, but I remember the first time I drove a stick shift, the standard car.
Yeah.
And what happens is you have to really pay attention because you have to go gear to
Yeah.
gear to gear. And there's an intentionality that comes with accelerating, and
Hmm.
then there's an intentionality that has to come with slowing down.
Yeah.
If you get to a certain type of terrain, a rough terrain, you have to stay in what's called first gear.
Yeah.
You got to go slow and lethargic to get over all the bumps until you can finally shift into another gear and go
Yeah.
faster.
Yeah.
For many of us in our lives, we are on autopilot. We're on an automatic
Yeah.
way of doing things.
Yeah.
And so we don't even really notice when we hit a rough terrain, we just get
Hmm.
stuck in it.
Yeah.
And so now, to me, shifting and transformation is very much about intentionality. It's
Yeah.
about saying, let's slow down and go down to the
Hmm.
first gear
Yeah.
and pay attention to what's happening so that
Truly
as we
raise your
go
awareness.
faster, we can do so in the healthiest way.
Yeah, absolutely. And really, it is that ongoing level of raising your awareness, that evolution
Yes.
of the person and the evolution of their problems,
Yes.
but really continuously raising your awareness. And I love, there's so many speakers that I love. You absolutely are one of them. And Jim Rohn literally says, stand guard at the doorway of your mind every day.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought of it so differently. I used to think of it as people putting different thoughts in your head. Of which, yes, that's true. But you also have to stand guard at your own thoughts.
Yes.
When did you decide that you were going to think this way? What's important about it? Do you want to keep this thought? Is this really helping you? And being that participant in the thought, but also having the ability to be the observer of the
Hmm.
thought
Hmm.
and start gently looking at it and noticing it and going, okay, well, how can I shift this? What else might I look at? Yeah.
Yeah, I remember the first time that I read The Power of Now by Eckhart
Oh,
Tolle.
yeah, yeah,
And
yeah,
he speaks about being the watcher of self. That book
yeah.
changed my life because I
Oh,
realized that the words of others, the
yeah.
words of my former stepfather, who used to say horrid things to me, had become my own words in here,
Yes.
right?
Yes, very
And we
much
have
so.
to be careful that the weapons of the external enemies
Mhm.
sometimes become the weapons of your internal enemies if you're not careful. Now
Very
your
much
brain
so.
is using those same words against you from the inside out.
Yeah.
You have
Yeah.
to be the watcher of self and notice. Yeah.
Very much so. That's a lot of what I teach, especially about the inner critic and what is it saying and how is it supporting you. Sometimes it is helpful and
Hmm.
sometimes not so helpful. We got to
Yes.
look into it and figure that out. Yeah.
Yeah, I call him the bad wolf.
Oh,
And
I like that one too.
I often teach, if we're being honest, that your bad wolf often started off as a hero wolf.
Aw.
That sometimes the bad version of yourself, the critic of yourself,
Yeah.
actually rose to the surface either to guard you, to protect you, to do some
Yeah.
sort of a valiant thing.
Yeah.
But over time, it has stopped serving you in the way that it once did.
Yeah.
And so we have to understand that sometimes we started saying these words to ourselves because if I just tell myself this, their words won't hurt as much. If
Yeah.
I say this to myself, it'll keep me guarded from the
Yeah.
problems. But at some point, it's not serving you, it's not helping you,
Mhm.
it's not saving you. And so we
Yeah.
have
Very
to
much so.
understand oftentimes that came from somewhere.
So true. So, so true. Oh my gosh. Maurice, it is always such a pleasure to talk with you.
Yeah,
Is
it's
there
been great to
anything
talk to
else
you
that
too.
you want to share with our listeners or any I know the best place to reach you is your website and we're going to
Sure.
have that in the show notes. And oh, I know you mentioned that you're working on another book. Can you tell us about it
Yes.
really quick?
Sure. So this one is pretty cool. I'm writing a lot of the book, but my beautiful wife is helping me write this one, which is pretty awesome.
Oh,
So this
that
book
is very
is
cool.
yeah, absolutely. I don't exactly know when it's going to be out, either end of this
Yeah.
year or the beginning of next year, but it's called Fight Like Heaven, right? And it's this concept that
Ooh,
everybody always says you got to fight like hell. But if
yeah.
you're fighting like something that actually has a negative connotation, does that actually take you to the right place?
Right?
How do you fight in a way that takes you higher and takes you
Yeah.
healthier as you fight for your life? And so that's
Yeah.
the book I'm writing. In terms of what else I would say to people, yeah, feel free to go to my website. I want to encourage people. I just started a new program, and you were just kind of referenced it, that I just started
Yeah.
a new group program, which is really awesome. I have a whole bunch of courses, over 20 hours of learning, and this is going to be
That's
opportunities for
stunning.
you to heal. Okay, the
Yeah.
whole thing is about let's face what you're running from. Let's heal from what you're
Mm,
going through.
let's
I
face
offer,
what you're running from.
yes, absolutely. And so it offers, you're going to have a chance to sit down with me once a month, me in a group setting,
Aw.
and we're just going to work and we're going to heal and we're going to grow and we're going to become better leaders and better people. And so I
I
want to
love that.
encourage people to go to my website, sign up for that. It's a special price right now because I just launched it. I've got books at my website. Find me online. So
His
yeah, I'd love
website is
to talk to
amazing.
you.
Absolutely, absolutely incredible. So I
I
can't say
appreciate you
enough good
saying
things
that.
about it. Thank you so much for spending time with us. It is always a pleasure to talk with you. You light up the world. Keep being your amazing self.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you.
You're
And thanks so much
welcome.
again for the opportunity.
Absolutely. Thank you to our listeners. I hope you enjoyed this incredible conversation.